so bad. Hello everybody and welcome back to Tome Raider. I'm Ollie Johnson and I'm joined as ever by Dan Murgatroyd. How you doing, Dan?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. um, I'm good, I'm good. And this week we read 3 Sherlock Holmes stories as per usual. Well, I don't know why I said that as if it would be interesting, because we'd been doing that for a while.
This week we read 3 Sherlock Holmes stories. Isn't that your usual? Quiet,
uh,
quiet. You said there would be no fact checking.
oh God. Uh,
Sorry, I have been waiting to try and do a joke along those lines for about a year.
no, it was well timed. Well done.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
so well, first let's check the audio, see if I can we can be heard all right.
Yeah,
Because as there is comparatively little visual element compared to our usual fare, audio is all the more important for that.
yes. Because otherwise it is just an ASMR video of nothing. Because there won't even be the sound of flames.
Well, there might be because OBS is weird with the audio stuff.
OBS is weird. Is probably all you needed to say.
uh, yeah, but we seem to be alright. We seem to be alright. I can hear both of us and the fire.
Good, good.
Yeah. So, yeah, well, as is on screen, we started the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes this week.
Yes, the second collection of short stories.
I think there was a theme evolving between the three of them this week, but we'll get to that. Uh, Seb's here. Hello, Seb. How are we
Yeah,
doing? And he says, all okay here. I assume he means the audio. Which,
yes.
thank you, Seb. I appreciate the check. uh, that is, I appreciate you checking. You haven't sent me a check. Since
It would also be nice if you sent him a check, but it is not expected.
since there is a book of Boba Fett, does that mean there is a Tome or a Morrison?
Oh, God, how long have you been holding on to that one, Seb?
I'll let you have that one. Oh.
Okay, he's been holding on to it for very little time. I'm surprised. I was expecting him to be
Yeah.
holding on to it
And
from
he
the
said,
just
I
after.
didn't send you a check. Oh,
Sent you in.
we're a bit behind on YouTube, which is what I was reading. Oh.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, I should probably check Twitch, see what kind of delay I'm working with for response times. Just a second. Well, sorry, we'll get to the book discussion. But yeah, Dan, in general, what did you think of the stories we read?
Uh, they were interesting. They went. Some of them went a bit differently from what was
Yeah,
expected.
Twitch is maybe 2 seconds behind.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting, and I don't know why, but I wasn't expecting the first one to be about a horse, despite the fact the obvious horse name of Silver Blaze.
Yeah. Have you ever played Pawn Star or Pony?
No, but I think I can gather how the game works from the name of it.
Yeah,
Is this a star or a pony?
it was a game. It was a panel at a convention I went to once. It's just a. Oh, don't let me be a tangent, but I just got an important call from Austria. Oh, cool, cool. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, when you said the obvious horse name, that's reminded me of that game.
Yeah, because I can't imagine Silver Blaze doing well as a porn star.
I don't know. It's
It doesn't
probably
have,
a niche.
yeah, well, it doesn't have enough of a sexual pun to the name. So, same as it wouldn't make a drag name either.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I enjoyed the stories for the most part. But oh, I had something and now it has run away from me.
Ah, damn! I hate when that happens.
It'll come back about 2 o'clock tomorrow morning.
And one day it shall come back. Yes, I'll come back. Uh, that was a Doctor Who reference. But,
Yes. Or it is. Yes, there's the fourth leaving Sarah Jane behind, I believe. I'll be back. Never comes and picks her up and then bumps into her as the 10th Doctor. Many years later.
But yes, well, Silver Blaze, it's very much well, it's as a lot of these shorter stories are, it really is sort of a one problem case. But that, or at least it looks like that, and it does turn out that. I think I like about this one is like I'm starting to get a feel of what details might be important and, well, which may not.
Yes.
But it's like my brain's going, oh, I'll hold on to that detail in case it's important later.
Yes.
Oh.
It
Seb
also
says that both can be ridden. He, in fact, never came back. He's worse than Ash Ketchum.
Yeah.
Oh, a bit of detail.
Yeah. But yes, it also sort of highlights with how little sometimes they focus on like money and then it's not actually relevant to the case. The strange Victorian fascination with how much anyone you meet earns. And by strange Victorian fascination, I mean overly common everyday fascination.
Yeah.
But but it features less prominently in books nowadays unless it's relevant to the plot.
Yeah,
because they focused on money in the Noble Bachelor, and it wasn't relevant to the plot. It was she was already married. Was that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though, one thing I will just say about I think all of these is, and I don't know how I would change this, but they kind of they don't so much end as they just sort of stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, given they're meant to be just sort of recollections of curious affairs, yeah, you're not expecting sort of a happy ending.
Yeah, this is true. I think the format allows for it, but it is quite jarring sometimes. Especially when you're listening at 3.5 times speed. It's like, hold on, we're not even on the same story anymore. Mind you, I doubt Sir Arthur Conan Doyle would have anticipated that his work would one day be consumable in an audible form that could go at those kind of speeds.
Yes.
Yeah. Although he did sort of assume that his work would be consumed on speed, but maybe not at speed.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So, in Silver Blaze, we begin. Well, it's implied that we begin at 221B Baker Street, though that is never actually established.
Yes. This is just sort of like it actually starts with dialogue, which is a bit unusual. I tend to find you get a bit of scene setting before, but given that this is the 13th short story, I think people assumed the scene now. I am afraid, Watson, I shall have to go, said Holmes as he sat down to our breakfast one morning.
Go where to?
To Dartmoor, King's Pyland.
And we well, traveling to Dartmoor usually involves a murder in our experience.
Yeah, a murder, a mystery. A murder mystery, one would almost say. A good game of Clue.
Yeah. That was a reference to our streams of Hitman, where we went to Dartmoor quite a bit. I've never actually been to Dartmoor.
Oh no. But yeah, no. Fair bit of murder. We still need to go back and just stab Alexa one time. Sorry, sidetrack.
Yeah.
Assassin stab the British. Moving on.
That is a theme. They had the builders in that. Okay, so yeah, so Sherlock's attention is taken by, for once, a matter of great public interest.
Yes.
It's the disappearance of a favoured racehorse, and, well, he finds it particularly notable because how does that even happen? Like, the horse in question is called Silver Blaze and is very recognisable for a distinct pattern of white fur or grey fur on. I think it was it a brown or black horse? I can't remember.
I believe brown, and it's white on the face and some mottling on one of the front legs.
Oh yeah, yeah. But because of those visual indicators, this horse is very distinct, and therefore Sherlock is wondering how could it have possibly just disappeared? And like, wasn't it hoping for? No, the Wessex Cup. It was that was coming up, and the favourite to win just vanishes, and it's so distinctive, and nobody knows where it is. So
and its trainer has been murdered.
Yes. And so Sherlock takes the case preemptively. No one actually comes to him with the case.
Yeah. He thought, like a lot of people, that it would just the horse would just turn up, and but now the horse hasn't turned up because it's in an area of sort of fields and moors, sort of very wuthering heights here.
Yeah. So there's a good number of British people get stabbed in these books. Don't a lot of horses have white and grey fur? Yeah, but this is a specific pattern of.
Yeah,
like,
it's essentially a birthmark or a spot of vitiligo.
Yeah.
Though that would. Yeah.
And Watson says, "Do you mind if I come?" It's like, oh, I wouldn't miss it. My dear Watson, you would confer a great favour upon me by coming. And I think your time will not be misspent, for there are points about the case which promise to make it an absolutely unique one. And so they catch a train to Paddington.
From Paddington, yeah.
From Paddington, not to. Like, it would be a bit redundant to catch a train to Paddington, they're already in London.
Yeah, yeah. They can probably catch a cab to Paddington, but it's not. He also asks, "Would you oblige me by bringing with you your very excellent field glass?" Which makes it sound like Watson just has a collection of field glasses along there, from poor to very excellent.
It's like the fine china, isn't it?
Yes.
Bring the good field glass.
Yes. Bring us the good. Put out the good plates, and they've got Shrek on them. Is the common joke.
Sorry, the
Yeah,
mic boom threatened to fall just there.
yeah. Mike Boom is currently trying to kill Ollie.
uh, no, I'm not under it this time. It's just that microphone is expensive. I don't want it falling to the floor.
Yeah, no, I'm more going on the pun that Mike Boom sounds like a name.
Yeah.
So Mike Boom is trying to kill Ollie. If he turns up dead, that's who you go after.
Mike boom. uh,
Yeah, and
Mike Boom must be stopped. He's a
yeah,
Toast of London character. uh, oh, Toast of London names are something else.
indeed.
Have you ever
Indeed.
seen
But
that show?
I haven't offhand.
Ah, I reckon you'd like it. Anyway, back on with Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, and they set off on the train, and Holmes, again, to prove how smart he is, makes a deduction on the way that their present rate of travel is 53.5 miles an hour. And Watson's like, I had not observed the quarter-mile post. And Holmes is like, nor I, but the telegraph poles are 80 feet apart, and I just did the mental maths.
Because of
It's,
course he did.
yeah. And then inquires as to what Watson knows of the disappearance of Silver Blaze, which is what was in the Telegraph and the Chronicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yes, and Holmes says, we must draw upon the art of the reasoner for this. It's where sifting through details with fresh evidence. But because this has been so uncommon, so complete, and such personal importance to so many people, we suffer from a plethora of surmise, conjecture, and hypothesis, which makes it hard to get to absolute undeniable fact from the embellishments of theorists and reporters. Or in other words, everyone has got it wrong. I will have it right.
yep. Well, as is usually the case with old
Yeah.
Sherlock.
Yes, usually. Yeah. And a new inspector is introduced, but this is a Dartmoor one, not of Scotland Yard. So Holmes is not instantly disparaging of them before even meeting them. And Inspector Gregory. And he was actually invited. Inspector Gregory invited Sherlock's cooperation.
Oh yeah,
He,
yeah.
he just left it for a couple of days because he went, no, the horse will turn up of his own accord.
And then it didn't.
Yeah. Yes, and Holmes admits to making a blunder because he thought, yes, no, the horse will just turn up, and with the horse, the murderer of John Straker, his trainer John, would be found because they would clearly be the one who abducted the horse. But he got an invite on Tuesday evening, and they're going down on the Thursday morning, and he expected hour by hour to get the news that the culprit had been apprehended. But no, he hadn't for a full day, so he came down.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, for God's sake, I'll figure it out myself.
Putting on a golden glove.
Fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah, oh dear.
So while they're in the while they're on the train on the way down, he points out that the horse is owned by a colonel.
Yeah, Colonel Ross.
Not that one.
Yes. uh,
Not
yes.
Harrison Ford now in the MCU. A different Ross.
Yes. Not going to turn into a giant red rage monster. Might turn into a red rage monster from the stress of his prize-winning horse going missing.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
But he seems perfectly polite and stiff upper lip because, of course, he is British and an officer. And this story
And
can't make the
therefore a
British.
gentleman.
Yes. And the British cannot possibly be bad because most of the murderers aren't British. I mean,
Indeed.
we start with an American. Yeah. Not to say that they can't be murderers, but they do tend to be less likely to be British, it seems, at times. That sentence is horribly non-sentence and no facts in it. Sherlock would have disliked it.
Yeah, but that is how these stories are written. uh,
Yes,
so,
yes. Sherlock goes through the facts of the case, which is that Silver Blaze lives up to the record of one of his famous ancestors. It's the fifth year of racing. He's owned by Colonel Ross, Red Rage Monster wannabe. He is the favourite for the Wessex Cup with betting of 3-1 on. So yeah, you have to put a lot on to get a decent amount back.
yeah,
Like, and he's always been a favourite, and he hasn't disappointed. So even at those odds, enormous sums of money will have been laid on him. And many people want Silver Blaze back because of that fact, because, well, their bet's going. Probably also the bookies, because they probably will have to pay it back. Actually, the bookies might want him gone because they only have to pay back what they got in bets from him, not payout if he wins.
yeah.
Yeah.
Although, with odds that high, they wouldn't be, as you say, they wouldn't be paying out too much on the, and
Yeah.
the
Probably
odds are stacked the way they are for a reason. Because 3-1 on Silver Blaze means there's going to be people betting against them just on the off chance.
Yes.
Because they're attracted by the long odds and therefore big payouts if they win.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
I would hope the bookies manage to cover their losses either way.
Yeah. But we learned that Silver Blaze was well cared for and well protected.
Oh, so it
Trained.
says, why would a horse feel that kind of pressure? It's a horse. Sorry, Dan, you initially made it sound like it was the horse that wanted to live up to the family legacy. Well, I'm sure they did.
Well, it's the fact of that it's stated that he lives up to the legacy of a famous ancestor. We don't learn the famous ancestor. We have no idea what fictional horse is this fictional horse's acclaimed ancestor for betting.
Is he just saying the horse has second generation star energy?
The horse has pedigree, as they call it in the world. I remember as an aside of sort of like in a program called Leverage, there's a very early episode, quite possibly the second or third episode.
I've got to
overall.
watch that show. I've heard it's great.
Yeah, but the con involves a horse, and they fake its lineage. And the man who knows about horses looks at them and goes, "This horse isn't a star; it's a fucking Kennedy." And basically goes, "This horse is a Kennedy." The sort of like that's the level of pedigree they're looking at because Americans.
Yeah.
And sort of like it's of a power is of a high dynasty almost because the Kennedys are essentially the closest things Americans seem to have to nobility or royalty. They've been powerful politically for however long.
So does that mean JFK did sleep around? Oh,
Mm, yes, but we learn that the trainer, the murder victim, used to be a jockey for Colonel Ross before he got too heavy. I.e., he got old and couldn't keep the weight off.
yeah.
So has been in his employ for 12 years, 5 as jockey, 7 as trainer. Zealous and honest servant, which, unfortunately, from reading far too many of these things, means he's probably an absolute scoundrel.
Yeah. I mean, if he,
Yeah,
yeah, if he's not
yeah,
outright the murderer.
yeah.
Although,
But of
well,
course,
as he's been murdered, that's unlikely.
yeah. So a bit of a twist to the usual sort of format there, but he has another 3 lads who work under the trainer to keep an eye on the horses. There's only 4 horses that they look after at King's Pyland. And one of these lads stays up all night in the stable, while the others 2 sleep in the loft. All 3 are supposedly of excellent character, and of course, the one who stays up is there to make sure no one comes a horse bothering, or worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, John has a wife who lives in a small villa about 200 yards from the stable, no children, and he keeps one maid servant. He wouldn't need a nursemaid because that's for when you've got young children and nursing woman. And God, how things have changed.
Yeah.
And he is well paid. Um, Country is the area they live is lovely, but there's a small cluster of villas nearby that are used to look after the infirm or invalids, as they put it in the text, who may
Yeah.
enjoy pure Dartmoor air. Where, admittedly, that would have been a medical treatment around the time that might have actually had some benefit, but not for about half the conditions they would have sent you there. But if you'd had tuberculosis, clean air would have been better for you.
Yeah.
Indeed, indeed, there's an entire place that's now a hotel in Switzerland. That was just a medical facility that essentially was a room, a balcony, and you'd spend most of your day on the balcony in furs to get the pure cold air into you. And apparently, it worked. As much as anything did for tuberculosis. But
Yeah.
anyway, that is actually entirely irrelevant to the story because it's not in Dartmoor. So, yeah. And then there is another horse training facility a couple of miles away as well, of Mapleton. Belongs to a Lord Backwater. Is this why you would say you refer to places as backwaters when they're not as good, supposedly?
Maybe.
Yeah, but it's run by a Silas Brown, and every other direction of the moors is complete wilderness, inhabited only by a few travellers. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the evening the horse had its usual exercise, water, locked at the stable at 9 o'clock. Okay, the servants had their usual pattern of some ate dinner at the house, and then the one who was stay up all night had dinner brought to him.
Yep. Curried mutton specifically, wasn't it?
Yes, consisted of a dish of curried mutton. My goodness, it's just sort of like that is just a bizarre image. It's probably not. We'd just call it curried lamb today, but because of how mutton is generally portrayed in a lot of media, makes it sound like there's a load of ribs with just curry sauce dumped on them, or lamb. shops rather than that. And also a sentence that would disprove some people going, "Oh, the Brits never had flavour. Take some spicy food back to the 19th century, you'd kill a bloke." And it's just like, no, we conquered the world for spice.
It's only
We
when
can,
it's only when poor people started being able to get their hands on it that the royals started saying, "Oh, well, if you're using spices, it's because you're using inferior meat."
yeah, and then stopped using spice themselves.
Yeah. The
Else,
amount though, the amount of stuff that's just based on snobbery.
mm,
Uh, anyway, that's
that the conversation for a completely different podcast.
yeah. Let's not get me started. Uh,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. Uh, she didn't take the guy in the stable any beer or indeed any liquid because there was a water tap in the shed, and they did not want the person staying up all night to guard the precious horses to get sozzled,
yeah,
which I think is fair enough.
indeed.
But when she's bringing this curried mutton into the stable boy, a man appears out of the darkness and called to stop her. Just sort of like I've always got this image of a man just stepping out, lowering hat, "Tally ho!"
Tally ho! Uh,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
man, well, the man offers her money.
yes. He is dressed in gentlemanly garb, grey tweeds, cloth cap, gaiters, and a heavy walking stick with a knob to it.
His name apparently was Fitzroy Simpson.
Yes, Fitzroy Simpson. And the where the family tree breached that led to Guy Incognito.
My name is Guy Incognito.
Oh God, we've made more side jokes than we have on telling the story today. But
Ah,
yes, gators, as in worn by scantily clad women rather than alligators.
yeah. Ah,
Just I imagine sort of over trousers to protect your trousers in the countryside.
yeah. Like chaps, I suppose would be the
Yeah,
American equivalent.
yes, not ass.
All
Those
chaps
were,
are assless. They go over pants to protect the legs. All
yeah, no, but yeah, but when someone mentions assless chaps, it is specifically in a different context.
right, yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure that chaps would be happy to protect you in the countryside. Well, yeah, they're good chaps.
Yeah, I say, there's a fine pair of chaps here helping me along.
Uh, linguistics.
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah, but yes. The man inquires as to where he is, and then that he gotten lost and had almost made up his mind to sleep on the moor until he saw the lady's lantern.
And offers her money to buy a dress with.
Yes.
Um, and I think what was it? He was trying to get a tip on the race, basically.
Yeah. Yes. Tried to bribe her to get a tip on the race and to make sure that the boy sleeping in the stable tonight got a package in his hands, a small thing. Uh, yeah, she runs past the man, gives the stable boy his dinner, or puts it through, begins to tell him what happened when the stranger comes up to him. Yes, and she, while the man is talking to the boy, she swears she notices the corner of a paper package coming out of the man's hand. The lad does not seem to be interested, particularly in what the man has to say. Decrying his, "So, you're one of those damn touts. I'll show you how we serve them in King's Pylon."
Huh.
And brings up Russ across the stable to loose the dog. The girl runs away, but swears she sees the man and leaning through the window. Oh, but he was gone a minute later when Hunter, the stable lad, comes out with the dog.
Yeah.
At this point, Watson interrupts to ask a question, and Holmes is happy about it. Excellent, Watson, excellent. Question being, did the stable boy, when he ran out with the dog, leave the door unlocked behind him? In which Holmes went, excellent, Watson, excellent. The importance of the point struck me so forcibly that I sent a special wire to Dartmoor yesterday to clear the matter up. The boy locked the door before he left it. The window, I may add, was not large enough for a man to get through. As, again, one would imagine in your stable holding the favourite for the Wessex Cup.
Yeah. So, like, he wouldn't have been trying to get through it because he would have seen it was impossible.
Yeah.
What the?
Yes, Hunter waited for his fellow stable boys or grooms to return, and then told the trainer of the strange events that had happened, and this seemed to excite Straker, the trainer.
Yeah. Huh.
Yes, and it also seemed to. Oh, of course, I forgot. Excited means basically anything in there.
Yeah.
Please.
Excited means any state of emotional animation at all.
Yeah, and agitation as well.
There's a small package, a tip. Yep. He had a small package, and I'm not just talking about the wrestling maneuver of that name.
I am not familiar with wrestling maneuvers, but for the most part, so that makes no difference to me. But this excitement seems to have caused unease, pardon me, in John Straker.
Yeah.
Yeah. For Mrs. Straker awoke at 1 in the morning, to find John dressing. And he said they could not sleep on account of because of his anxiety about the horses, and he intended to check that all was well. She begged him to remain at home as she could hear the rain pattering against the window. So, but he got a large Macintosh and left the house.
They did.
Which is very confusing that he took a large computer with him.
Well, they did make them quite large back in the day.
Yes, but in the 1890s?
Oh, it would have been the size of a bus.
Yes. Only the Queen of England would have been able to afford one. Yes, because she was Empress of India and Queen of about a quarter to a third of the globe, depending on how you measured it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Mrs. Straker woke up again at 6 hours later at 7 in the morning, she found that John had not returned and hastily got dressed, called a maid, and checked the stables. Hunter, the door to the stable was open. Hunter, the lad who was watching over it, was in a state of complete stupor and Silver Blaze was nowhere to be found, nor was John.
Yeah. So obviously, well, that's not good. And well, obviously that's the inciting incident.
Yes, but also on top of that, the two grooms who were also sleeping in the stable, but essentially in the loft of it, they were woken quickly, but they had heard nothing. And both being sound sleepers, apparently. And Hunter was obviously drugged.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, and so the the two grooms and the maid and Mrs.
Crosscut
and the
Lawns
trader's
just
wife went
joined
up
on
to
TikTok. Hello
have
there.
a look.
Yep.
Hello. And they assumed that, or hoped, that it would be that the trader had just taken Silver Blaze out for his exercise early. This was not to be the case. For they found, about a quarter mile away, John's overcoat flapping from a bush. And his dead body at the just past it in a depression in the ground.
Well, I imagine he would have been in a bit of a depression at the time, being dead. No. Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. His head had been smashed in by some heavy weapon. And there was a wound on his thigh, a long, clean cut. Yes, but he had apparently vigorously defended himself with a. For he had a knife clutched in his right hand.
Knife being a generous term, as Sherlock. Yeah. They inspect the scene, and Sherlock says, "Well, that's not much of a knife. Wouldn't that be something in your profession, Watson?" And
Yeah.
I believe he says they call it a cataract knife.
Yes. It is also the man also John also had a cravat in his left hand that once Hunter was roused from his stupor, he identified as belonging to the tout from the evening before.
Ah.
So, there was plenty of evidence from hoof marks and such that at the bottom of the depression that the horse had been there at the time of the struggle, but had disappeared by then.
Yeah, presumably panicked and bolted.
Yeah, and that since then a large reward has been on offer, and all the travellers at Dartmoor are on alert because good money.
Yeah, and well, Sherlock probably would have guessed this much, and that's why the case interested him, because if everyone's on the lookout, how could the horse possibly be concealed?
Yeah. And it was shown that the drug in question had been used on Hunter was powdered opium, which he was the only one affected by, as everyone else in the house had been absolutely fine, despite also having their curried mutton.
Yeah, but Sherlock surmises that that was why they were served curried mutton in the first place, because the curry would disguise the taste of the opium.
Yes. Yes, and then we hear Holmes' opinion on Inspector Gregory while they're on their final bit of their journey over. Inspector Gregory, to whom the case has been committed, is an extremely competent officer. Were he but gifted with imagination, he might rise to great heights in his profession.
And which, yeah, so far is the nicest thing Sherlock has said to or about anyone from Scotland Yard.
Yes, any police officer. Uh, um, we learn that Fitzroy Simpson has already been arrested for this. Fitzroy being a man of excellent birth and education, aka a probably upper class to minor aristocracy.
Yep.
A description like that, who has squandered a fortune upon the turf. Now living in makes little quaint and genteel bookmaking in the sports clubs of London is how he earns his living. So a professional gambler.
Yeah.
And that he has made bets to a total of £5,000 against the favourite. So how much would that be today? Is the calculator ready?
I had forgotten about. I'll just be a second. And where's the inflation guide? I know I've got it open in one of these many tabs.
Many tab.
There we go. So £5,000, you say?
Yes.
In today's money, £545,408.69.
Yeah, so just over £500,000 nowadays. He has bet against the favourite.
Yeah. So he obviously knew something, because you don't just do that.
Yeah. It is revealed that they also that Mr. Simpson had also been inquiring at the Mapleton stables, the one that's a couple of miles away. But that is where the second favourite, Desborough, is at. Yeah.
Yeah.
He just says he had no sinister designs, but he was just looking for information to get an edge, basically.
Yeah. He was looking for a tip.
Yeah. Yeah. He cannot account for why the victim has his cravat. And his walking stick, for which the maid had stated was he was carrying the day before, was reasoned that it could be what inflicted the vicious blow upon the trainer's head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although...
But there was no injury upon Mr. Simpson, and that would account for the blood upon the trainer's knife. Which, this is the point in which they first mentioned the knife actually had blood on it.
Yeah. And I think they assume he must have cut himself upon falling.
Yes, in convulsions, is I believe the...
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and they conclude that that is actually a point against Simpson being the culprit, despite his cravat being there.
So it sounds like Mr. Simpson is going to be in the dough. Yeah. Puns.
Yes. And Sherlock remarks that any theory they may have will be met with grave objections to it, because the police have think they have their solution, that Fitzroy Simpson drugged the lad, made off, somehow acquired a duplicate key and made off with the horse.
So that also having two grooms would have been very progressive for the time.
Well, actually, they have three, but we only get the name of one of them, so I'm using the name. He had three grooms, and a wife, and a maid.
Living it up, I see.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Still not complicated as a denobular marriage. Three husbands for every wife, three wives for every husband. Wonderfully confusing and complicated. But anyway, sorry.
Never.
Yeah. Uh, another point for the horse being kidnapped is the horse's bridle was missing. And then the trader catches up with them after he started doing this, which leads to the row, which caused the death of John Stracker. I'm going to keep saying it as a different surname every time, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yet somehow did this without receiving any injury himself. And with the horse either being led away or bolting, is the assumption.
Indeed. So, they go to the, I think I'm remembering correctly that this is what happened next. They go to the other stable and, the guy who owns it is not keen to start talking. Sherlock just whispers one thing in his ear and puts the frighteners on him.
I think there's a bit more before that.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry.
We haven't met the detective or the colonel yet, and we spend a bit of time with them before he goes to the other stable.
Yeah, the Colonel is not as confident in Sherlock as everyone else seems to be
Yeah.
when they meet. He's very, I'll believe you're good at. I'll believe your reputation when I see it for myself, kind of guy.
Yeah, he does start a bit more politely with sort of like, I'm delighted you have come down, Mr. Holmes. But his manner doesn't maintain for long. But to be fair, he's lost a prize-winning horse that was about to earn him a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah,
Again.
I mean, I'd be annoyed too.
Yeah. Yes, Inspector Gregory is full up on the case and pours out a stream of remarks while Holmes threw in an occasional question or interjection.
So I'm surprised he came down so quickly after all the opium curry.
Mm. Yes. Yeah, and the Gregory states the net is drawn pretty close round Fitzroy Simpson, and I believe myself that he is our man. At the same time, I recognise that all the evidence is purely circumstantial, and that some new development may upset it. And then they admit that they've come to the conclusion that Straker injured himself with the knife as he fell. And that they've confirmed that Fitzroy had no sign of neither knife nor wound when they took him in.
Yeah, so that sort of exonerates him.
Yeah. Yeah, they say that he has enough to take it before a jury, and Holmes is like a clever lawyer would tear it apart. Why would he take the horse out of the stable if he wished to injure it? Why could he not do it there? Has a duplicate key been found? What chemist sold in the powdered opium? Yeah, and where could a stranger to the district hide a horse?
Yeah, I mean, that is
Yeah.
well, that's the main vexing problem, isn't it? Not just a horse, but a particularly famous horse with a famous appearance.
Yeah.
I should say, a famous difference of appearance.
Yes. Yes. Gregory answers a lot of them. Uh, Simpson is not a stranger to the district. He has lodged twice at Tavistock in the summer. The opium was probably bought in London. The key, having served its purpose, could be hurled away, and the horse may very well be at the bottom of one of the pits at old mines of the moor. Which is just what I imagine the colonel wanted to hear the police say about his prized racehorse.
Yeah.
It's probably dead.
Yeah. I want my racehorse back. You'll be lucky, mate.
Yeah.
I think the odds are probably greater than it having lost the race.
Yeah. But and another piece of information has come up that there was a camp of travellers there on the night of the event on the Monday who had gone by the Tuesday. So it is assumed that it is possible that Simpson took the horse to them. And
Yeah.
they've then gone off.
Yeah. And, well, oh, God. It was on the tip of my mind. Is this the part where they go to the second stable and...
They're heading to the second stable. Well, I don't think quite yet. Sherlock is doing the whisper and everything. I think that's just before the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're making their way to Oh, sorry, I need to reread that bit again because my brain is just completely when trying to understand what's actually going on.
Yeah. Oh, they go to no, I remember. They go to somewhere else and Sherlock asks if anything unusual has been happening. And he says 3 different sheep have gone.
That's at the very end.
Ah.
Just before he tells us what happens, if memory serves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, no, yeah, Sherlock just ups and leaves at one point.
Yeah. Yeah, they have gone to the stables where the crime was committed, is where they are now, to examine evidence. And everyone else gets out of the carriage, apart from Sherlock, who stays in for a bit and then apologises for daydreaming. But Watson notes there is the look in his eye, suppressed excitement in his manner. Have you come upon a clue?
Yep. If he hasn't cracked it, he's damn close in that situation.
Yeah. Yes, and Holmes, rather than going to the crime scene, is asking some questions like, Straker has been brought back here, I presume. Yes, he is upstairs. Yes, because having corpses in the house was not as strange a thing as it is today.
No, it would have been a lot more common back then.
Yeah, well, you used to occasionally keep family members in the living room for a week to say goodbye to them.
Yeah.
Never know, we maybe look back on it and go, how strange that they didn't keep the family in the living room for a while. Yeah, and he inquires like he's worked for you for a while, he's been a good servant. Did you make an inventory of what was in his pockets? It's to which Gregory replies, I have the things themselves in the sitting room if you would care to see them. Or the Colonel. Even not Gregory.
Yeah.
And they go to examine it. The spare the inspector had it locked up in the tin box, and there's a box of Vestas, which I'm assuming are cigarettes, 2 inches of tallow candle, an ADP briar root pipe, a pouch of seal skin with a ½ ounce of long cut Cavendish, silver watch with a gold chain, 5 sovereigns in gold, an aluminium pencil case, a few papers, and an ivory handled knife with a very delicate, inflexible blade. Mott, Weiss and Co., London. So I didn't realise that Weiss had gone into the knife business.
No, apparently he wears a lot of hats.
Yeah. Well, it's got to find something to do when Beerus takes a 60-year nap.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of time in that situation.
Yeah. Holmes, and now we get to the point where Holmes refers to the knife as singular, and they deduct that that it is a cataract knife.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
crucially, a poor weapon.
Yes. If I'm not mistaken, the cataract knife would be used in eye surgery for removing cataract.
Yeah.
So that's a very delicate blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tip was guarded by a disc of cork when it was found beside his body. No, which they found beside his body. So he'd taken the top off, essentially a protector off of it, stab.
Yeah.
And that is the wife recalls seeing it on the dressing counter, and him picking it up. A poor weapon, but it might be the only thing they have on hand. Unless you go down to the kitchen and get a meat cleaver.
Yeah. I mean, that would do you.
Yeah.
Meat cleaver is a surprisingly efficient weapon.
Yes. Oh, I've forgotten about that for a moment, especially in Dartmoor.
Yeah. Another Hitman reference.
Yeah, you just hide in the shadows and whang! They're dead. Again, Hitman reference, not recommending. It was the most efficient of the melee weapons we used on that god-awful mission. That's just so long. But they go through the papers there's in this pocket, which is a collection of receipts, 3 from hay dealers, 3 receipts from hay dealers. 1 is a letter of instruction from the colonel, and the others is a milliner's account from addressed to a William Derbyshire. The account for £37, and how much would that be nowadays?
£37. Just a second.
The technology misbehaving.
Sort of. No, there we go. £37 would be £4,036 and 2 pence in today's money.
And this is just for a clothes receipt. Now, I've heard of people binging and shopping for clothes, but I've not heard of them walking away with £4,000 of clothes, particularly in a single shopping spree, in a single shop.
I mean, unless it's one of those ridiculously expensive suit places.
Yes. Imagine it was of Bond Street. But this William Derbyshire is apparently a friend of the dead man, and occasionally their letters are addressed to the house here. Strange setup. Yeah, Holmes remarks that Madame Derbyshire has expensive taste. Yes, and that it is 22 guineas is rather heavy for a single costume.
Indeed.
Yeah. And as they leave the leave the sitting room, a woman comes up to them and uh, is basically asking it for an update. Have you found the man who killed my husband? Essentially,
Yeah. Oh.
yes. And Holmes then makes a question of, surely I met you in Plymouth at a garden party some little time ago, Mrs. Straker.
And he mentions a specific dress which she denies ever having.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that quite settles it, and then apologizes to her and follows the inspector outside. Yeah, a short walk across the moors takes them to the hollow where the body was found, and Holmes inquires about the weather. It's just sort of like, there was no wind that night, I understand. None, but very heavy rain. In that case, the overcoat was not blown against the bush, but placed there. Yes, it was laid across the bush. Show me with interest. I perceive that the ground has been trampled up a good deal. No doubt many feet have been here since Monday.
Yeah.
A piece of matting has been laid here at the side, and we all stood upon that. Excellent. This is an officer who tries to maintain the crime scene. He is by far more competent than Scotland Yard. He just lacks imagination, as Holmes has said.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he then produces a bag which inside has one of Straker's boots, one of Fitzroy Simpson's boots, and a horseshoe of Silver Blaze.
Now that's a hell of a clue.
Yeah, well, the bag is one he's brought with him so that Sherlock can identify footprints. It's not one he finds there. Yeah, so it's to help Sherlock make the scene. My dear Inspector, you surpass yourself, says Holmes, before descending into the hollow and started walking around examining shoes and footprints. Yes, and then there is a moment of, hello, what's this? And they find a wax fester, so I'm guessing oh god, what is it?
I'm not sure.
Because I said matches. Wax festers are matches, not cigarettes, as I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he finds it, and it's so covered in mud, it looks like a little piece of wood, which a modern day match is. So, and the inspector is somewhat self-reproachful that he failed to find this clue that Sherlock did. And I cannot think how I came to overlook it.
Well, Sherlock, and it's a line you might remember from the beginning of the Guy Ritchie film. He found it because he was looking for it.
Yes, yes. Only saw it because I was looking for it. What, you expected to find it? I thought it not unlikely.
It was Guy Ritchie that did the Robert Downey
Yeah.
Jr. Sherlock. Yeah, I've yeah. Huh.
Yeah, who bought Jeremy Clarkson's local and ended the lock-ins.
Yeah.
Once long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently Sherlock has procured a gay harem and some opium curry. Truly an unbridled disaster. Surprised he came down so quickly after all the... Oh, I must have missed those ones. Sorry, I am not on form today.
Yes, but Yeah, the inspector says there are no more tracks. They're checked out 100 yards in each direction. And Holmes is actually sort of polite and is saying, "Oh no, I'm not going to recheck your work." Uh, but I would like to take a walk over the moor before it gets dark, that I may know my ground tomorrow. And I think I shall take the horseshoe with me for luck.
uh,
Yeah. And Colonel Roth, who has been here and remarkably quiet for the last part of the deck, is showing impatience at Sherlock.
yeah. And Watson is like, at least you have his assurances the horse will run. It's like, yeah, I've got his assurance. I'd rather have the horse.
Yes, yes. Yes. After he'd asked the inspector for advice on whether he should let the horse run, and Sherlock's like, "Oh yeah, certainly, keep its name on there."
Yeah. But nevertheless, the Colonel doesn't have much complimentary to say about Holmes.
Yes, and they've said return to Straker's house afterwards, and they'll drive them back into Tavistock. Okay. And Holmes and Watson are now walking across the moors. It feels almost very well. I'm expecting Kate Bush to turn up and start singing at this rate.
Yeah. Ah. Sam says, is he the Colonel of Truth? Well, Sherlock is going to reveal the truth to the Colonel, so if he's not, he will be, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, but they walk across the moors but the glories of the landscape were all wasted upon my companion, who was sunk into the deepest thought. Which must be inconvenient. I wonder if that's anything as dangerous as quicksand to a child is, thanks to Saturday morning cartoons.
Maybe.
Yeah, and then Holmes sort of directs them. It's this way. We'll leave the question of who killed John Stracker for the moment and confine ourselves to finding the horse. Now, supposing he broke away during or after the tragedy, where would he go? Horse is a very gregarious creature. If left to itself, its instincts will either return to King's Pylon or go to Mapleton. And why should he run the world upon the moor? Would surely have been seen by now. Why would gypsies kidnap him? The people always run clear when they hear of trouble.
Yeah.
So
it would have run somewhere, and I think he deduces it's gone to another stable.
Yes, to Mapleton.
Yeah.
Stable. Also, he would have either gone to King's Pylon or Mapleton. He is not at King's Pylon, so therefore he must be at Mapleton.
Yeah. Once again, the process of elimination being his method.
Yes. While making broad sort of characterizations of groups of peoples to rule some things out, but that is for narrative reasons more so than anything, because probably I imagine Arthur Conan Doyle with the story is going, I don't want to be writing this, I don't want to be writing this.
I don't know. Had he got to the point yet where he hated?
I honestly don't know, but
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and they pass around. They walk towards it, and there is a long hollow that they find on the way to Mapleton that the horse must have passed over on Monday and it was raining a lot, so it would have left an impression. And by Jove, Holmes matches the horseshoe to one of the impressions on the earth. And then he takes a wee stab at Gregory here. See the value of imagination, said Holmes. It is the one quality which Gregory lacks. We imagined what might have happened, acted upon the supposition, and find ourselves justified. Let us proceed.
Well, I find that to be a bit of a contradiction to previously established Holmes methods, because he says don't make theories because, you need to have the data, but what he just said of imagination is just having a theory, but he's just not calling it that.
Yes. Yes. It is,
I mean, I'm sure he'd explain the difference if I asked him, but...
Yes. And, yeah, they, continue walking to Mapleton and lose the tracks for a bit from a bit part of Earth that was too dry, and then find them again closer to Mapleton. And lo, there is now a track of human footprints walking alongside it.
Yeah. So, someone's taken the horse in.
Yeah.
Oh, like, I mostly just remember how it's revealed that they've found the horse after this point.
But there was a moment where they start to they're following the tracks and they start taking walking into King's Pyland, and then Watson noticed not that far away that there is a set of identical tracks walking back this direction, and Holmes is like, "One for you, Watson. You've saved us a long walk." So engrossed in following that track, he didn't notice that they were doubled back on themselves at some point.
Yeah.
Which seems very unlike him.
It does. It does. But, yeah, they all have... We all have lapses.
Yeah. Yeah. They then find themselves at Mapleton, where they are greeted by another groom, who tries to chase them off. We don't want any loiterers about here. I don't know what accent I was attempting to do, but it didn't turn out as any yet of them.
Yeah.
Holmes says, "Oh, we're only here to ask a question. It'd be too early to see Mr. Silas Brown. Down if I were to call at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning." And is like, "Bless you, sir. If anyone would be up, he'd be here. He's always the first stirring. But here he is, sir, to answer your questions for himself." And then he's like, "No, sir, it's not." And at this point, Sherlock seems to be trying to tip the man, because he says, "No, it's not worth it being seen, me taking the money. Perhaps later." Yes, and a fierce-looking elderly man strides to the gate with a hunting crop swinging in his hand. Everyone is always swinging their hunting crop.
Yeah.
Like every time someone's got a hunting crop, they're swinging it.
I mean, it's a very swingable implement, to be fair.
Yeah, and Mr. Brown is "What's this, Dawson? No gossiping. Go about your business. And you, what the devil do you want here?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Holmes is like, "10 minutes talk with you, my good sir, in the sweetest of voices."
Oh, yeah, this is the bit where the man is not receptive.
Yeah, which is should put you on edge when a stranger decides to talk to you in the sweetest of voices.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no turn to talk to every gadabout. We want no strangers here. Be off, or you may find a dog at your heels.
Sherlock then just whispers something into his ear, and instantly he changes his tune.
Yes, and Holmes then goes into the man's parlour to discuss it in private, leaving Watson outside at the gate, like
Ah.
some form of unruly pup who isn't house trained. Yeah, and
Although Watson's a very trusting fellow, so...
yeah. Holmes only asked for 10 minutes, he got 20, with Watson waiting out there.
Which I can only imagine annoyed a military man like Watson. It's like the agreement was 10.
Yes. Yes, it's just sort of like, for goodness sake, all the reds of the sunset have turned to greys. This is not good.
Yeah.
What am I to look at?
And also it would just annoy him that they didn't keep the appointed time, because he's a very punctual man.
Yes. Though he is perhaps less so with from knowing Sherlock.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when they come out, Silas Brown has a very different temperament, and he is ashy pale. He's sweating, and his hands are shaking on the hunting crop that he carries. And his bullying manner is gone. And he cringed along at my companion's side like a dog with its master. And he's sort of like, your instructions will be done, and shall be done, all be done. And Holmes is like, there will be no mistakes. No mistakes. It shall be done. Should I change it first or not? And Holmes fought a little burst off laughing. Saying it. No, I shall write to you about it. No tricks now, or, oh, you can trust me, you can trust me.
Basically, Sherlock's got him by the short and curlies, as they say.
Yes. Yes, and Sherlock, yes, I think I can. And, well, you shall hear from me tomorrow. And they set off for King's Pylon again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's when Sherlock just sort of ups and leaves, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they're making their way back, and it's just sort of like Watson asked. So he has the horse then. He tried to bluster out of it, but I described to him exactly what his actions had been on the morning that he is convinced that I was watching him. Of course, he observed the particularly square toes in the impression, and that his own boots, exactly corresponded to them. No subordinate would have dared do such a thing. And yes, he sees a strange horse upon the moor, and is sort of carousing to his custom. He goes to check it's okay, and when he recognizes it, he does sort of, this is the only horse that can beat mine. I can make money. Yeah.
Which is of course.
Well, his first instinct was actually to lead it back to King's Pylon, and then the devil on his shoulder wins. And he could hide the horse until the race is over.
Seb says, I don't understand why a horse's hoof mark would leave an impression. Surely it's an unremarkable thing to see near stables.
This is in the middle of the fields between two stables that aren't used for walking horses.
Yeah. And also, an impression like fingerprints.
Yes.
And don't say I'd rather not.
Yes. Found prints. No, fingerprints.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that joke as a kid when I first saw that episode of Animaniacs.
I would have been worried if you did when you saw it as a kid. Yeah, but Watson objects that, but the stables were searched. Edson says, oh, an old horse faker like him has many a dodge. He has many a trick to hide a horse.
Yeah. Basically, he'd oh wait, it hasn't been revealed yet. I will hold my horses.
Yes, as it were.
Yeah.
Watson's then worried that, as the horse is still in his power, would he not injure it now to sort of get himself out of trouble? It was just sort of like, he will guard it as the apple of his eye. He knows the only hope of mercy is to produce it safe.
Yeah. Well, once he knows Sherlock's onto him, that does become his only recourse.
Yeah, and Watson remarks that the Colonel doesn't seem like a man who would be merciful, and Holmes the matter does not rest with Ross. I follow my own methods and tell as much and as little as I choose. It is the advantage of being unofficial. I don't know whether you observed it, Watson, but the Colonel's manner has just been a trifle cavalier to me. I'm inclined now to have a little amusement at his expense.
He's just like, fuck him.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Sherlock's been working this case on the hoof.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry, my universal translator just malfunctioned. Did you really just say to fuck him?
No, I meant as in.
Yeah, I know, but it's sort of like you may test that assumption at your earliest convenience. Sorry, my universal translator was malfunctioned. Did you just say fuck around and find out?
Yeah.
Translating posh to what they actually mean. Yeah, Watson agrees to not to not mention about the horse without Holmes's permission, and then Sherlock goes, "Of course, this is all just a side distraction from the murder of the trainer." And Watson's like, "So you're going to devote your efforts to that?" "No, we're going home by the evening train."
Yeah, he already knows.
Yeah. Yeah, and Watson is dumbstruck, or thunderstruck, by this. Yeah, and he couldn't get anything out of Sherlock about what was going on in that until they were back home, or back at the trainer's house.
And to be fair, Watson trusts him by now.
He also is. See, not a word more could I draw from him until we were back at the trainer's house. He trusts him, but by Jove, is he far too curious?
Yeah.
Tell me now. Tell me now.
I'm sure you've got a good reason, but what the fuck is it?
Yeah. Tell me. Tell me.
Tell me. Oh.
Yeah. Holmes to inform the inspector and the colonel. My friend and I returned to town by the night express. We have had a charming little breath of your beautiful Dartmoor air. The inspector's eyes widen, the colonel stares. So you despair of arresting the murderer of poor Stracker? There are certainly grave difficulties in the way. I have every hope, however, that your horse will start upon Tuesday, and I beg that you will have your jockey in readiness. Might I ask for a photograph of Mr. John Stracker? And the inspector pulls one out. My dear Gregory, you anticipate all my wants. If I might ask you to wait here for an instant, I have a question which I should like to put to the maid.
He's really nice to Gregory, isn't he?
Well, Gregory is good at his job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and more importantly, not part of Scotland Yard.
Yeah.
The way Scotland Yard is portrayed, you'd find more law and order in Moss Isley.
I would have thought Lestrade, like, for how iconic the character became, would have been better at his job.
Yeah, but I do suppose part of it is Lestrade calls him in and Sherlock shows him up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is where Watson gives the insurances that the horse would run, and we get. I should prefer the horse exactly, but the statement has essentially been made already, but not in the same words. Colonel Ross is not impressed by Sherlock's uh, capabilities and what he has done because he feels that they are now closer. But Sherlock has left the room to talk with the maid and has now returned and said, "Now, gentlemen, I am quite ready for Tavistock. So to lead." Yeah, and as they're leading, a stable lad holds the door open, and a sudden idea occurs to Holmes. So he leans forward and taps the lad upon the sleeve. "You have a few sheep in the paddock. Who attends them?" "I do. Have you noticed anything amiss with them of late?" "Well, sir, not of much account, but 3 of them have gone lame, sir."
3 different animals at the same time with the
Yes,
same physical affliction.
yes. And Holmes seems extremely pleased. He chuckled and rubbed his hands together, which can't help me thinking of sort of either of a pervy older man who is tricking a younger woman or has hired a younger prostitute in Las Vegas when there's a knock at the door just before he's murdered in an American crime drama. Unfortunately, with that,
Yeah.
it is a far too common image, but that is the image that's getting for it.
Yeah. Sherlock's just had a hypothesis confirmed.
Yes. A long shot, Watson, a very long shot, he said, pinching Watson's arm. "Gregory, let me recommend to your attention this singular epidemic amongst the sheep. Drive on, coachman!"
Yeah.
which is just like, yeah! Almost. Colonel Ross still wore an expression which showed the poor opinion that had formed of Sherlock's abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he also saw but the inspector's attention has been keenly aroused by Sherlock's comment on the sheep. Watson, you consider that? No, the inspector, you consider that to be important? Exceedingly so. Is there any point to which you would wish to draw my attention? To the curious incident of the dog in the night time. Dog did nothing in the night time. That was the curious incident, remarked Sherlock Holmes. Now, I must confess, I got a little distracted and actually had to stop at that point because my brain defaulted to the story that I had to read at school of the curious incident of the dog in the night time.
Ah.
Yes, which is also a musical which my dad saw or last weekend, the same day I went to saw Alfred Hitchcock's Presents, the musical.
Ah, cool.
Yeah. But we have now left Dartmoor and have returned to returned to a train. They're now on the way to Winchester. See the race of the Epics Cup.
And have a nice cold pint and wait for all this to blow over. Beat you to it, Seb.
Yes, yeah, the Wessex Cup. 4 days later, Colonel Ross meets them at the station, and he is not happy, and his manner is cold in the extreme. "I have seen nothing of my horse. I suppose that you would know him when you saw him," says Holmes. Colonel was very angry. "Been on the turf for 20 years, and was never asked such a question before. A child could know Silver Blaze with his white forehead and his mottled off foreleg."
Yeah. So they take him to the stables and put him on a horse.
They put his jockey on a horse.
Oh yeah.
not he himself.
Yeah. And the horse is Silverblaze, and they just sort of wipe the dye off him and reveal it to be the horse in question.
Yeah.
And it is here that Sherlock explains his process.
Yeah.
So he deduces the thing about the curried mutton to disguise the taste of opium. So the opium curry, and the reason he was so happy about the sheep thing was because it confirmed that apparently there is a small cut you can make on the leg of a horse or an animal to make it appear lame, and you might put it down, but it doesn't also make leave any visible marks. So, sorry,
a noticeable injury.
Yeah, so they just assume it was an exercise injury. So that's what the guy was trying to do.
Yes. Just before he explains the full settings, he goes, the colonel is happy to have his horse back, but he's asking about the killer, and Holmes is like, he's here with us. I don't. Are you accusing me of murder? And he's like, no, I'm accusing the horse.
I should mention it was done in self-defense.
Yeah, no, it's which is why he was also saying it's going to be hard to prosecute, because you can't prosecute a horse. The horse got scared when the trainer lit a match behind it after this all very queer behaviour, and with its animal instincts, he lashed out behind him and caved the man's skull in.
Yeah.
And then just wandered off. And the reason why the trainer was doing this was because he was living a double life and he needed the money, because his expensive second wife was expensive.
Yeah.
Much more so he could support on the single paycheck, let alone two wives on one paycheck. So, yes, the horse was to be deliberately maimed. The trainer was to make money. Yes,
and the horse defended itself against its assailant. It bolted, was cared for by a neighbour until it was found, and then
and still made the Wessex Cup.
Yep.
And yes, why he asked for the picture was to go to the milliner and confirm that yes, Mr. Derbyshire and Mr. Straker were the same person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yes, and
so I gotta say, I think that kept me guessing was the thing about the sheep being lame.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's clearly gonna be important, but I don't see how.
Yes, yes, it is. But yeah. Yeah, but they invite the colonel back to smoke cigars with them. And Sherlock says he would be perfectly happy to give any other details that would interest the colonel.
And that's the line the story ends on. As I say, it doesn't so much end as just kind of stop.
Yes. Yes, and they didn't need Watson's field glass, aka telescope.
Well, it's better to have these things than need them and not have them.
I think they might have used it on the race, but they didn't need to have it on there because I think Holmes has a little money on the race after Silver Blazers.
Yeah.
And Either that, or I was so tired after listening to it, I inserted that into my memory.
Maybe. Um, I don't remember them using the field glass. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was Silver Blaze. The only story so far that didn't come preceded with the adventure of.
Yeah. Yes, strangely.
Yeah. So, what
Yes.
did you think of that one?
I enjoyed it. I found that one harder to put together than some of the others, despite
Yeah.
there's like some conventions on it.
Yeah. I would think that this is probably the one with the most moving parts.
Yes, and probably the best red herring as well, with Mr. Fitzroy Simpson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
um.
who, yes, is just Guy Incognito in my head.
Yeah. uh, uh, I'm not going to be able to unsee that now.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ah. Uh, but yeah, that was a nice little
Homer,
mystery,
this is
and
Homer. I am Fitzroy Simpson.
and I imagine the backdrop of betting on horse races was very relatable for the audience at the time.
Yeah. Can I just say, we've spoken about this one for twice as long as it took for me to listen to it.
Yeah, yeah,
Over
um,
as long.
yeah. I was gonna actually say, would you mind if we left it here for this week? Because I am not feeling 100%. And also, an hour 40 is plenty long. Like, we could probably do one story a week at this pace.
Yes, but yeah. So we will return next week for part 2 of part 1. So part 1.3 recurring.
Yeah. I'll put up the text on the thing in future as we talk about the stories, just in case.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But,
I came into this not feeling great, and I figured I'd be up to it, but it's like I'm just gonna do a bad job if I try to force this.
yeah, especially as it's 11:15, and if we continue at this rate, it will be we're gone 2 in the morning.
Yeah. Although, we are going into more and more detail as we recap these, so maybe, and talking about different things more, so maybe, like, one story a week is a good pace.
Yes. It would also be easier on us than reading it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, we will take it as it goes, I think, is probably the way to go.
Yeah. Like, we'll read 3 well, we've got the next 2 planned, but we'll read 3 at a time just in case. And, we'll just discuss them as time allows.
Yes.
So, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Tome Raider.
Yeah.
Next week,
Blaze.
yeah, the story of Silver Blaze. Next week will be, at the very least, the Adventure of the Cardboard Box, which that was my favourite one of these 3, and I can kind of see why it was initially banned. Was it? Or
It was initially, while part of this, it wasn't printed when it was collected. So it wasn't within this one its collection, and it was printed later on. But
I can see why people wouldn't have liked it.
Yeah, the reason why this was banned or not printed is not the obvious reason that comes up in the story.
Right.
Because if I say what it is, it sort of gives too much of the story away. We will cover it.
Hold on. I will just say what I was going to say is that I noticed a prevailing theme of betrayal this week for the 3 stories.
Yes, there is a fair amount of betrayal.
Yeah.
And it's a murder mystery, and statistically, murder is most likely to be committed upon you by someone you know. So,
yeah, this is true. This is true.
Yeah, so treachery.
It is the way of the Sith, apparently.
Yes.
Uh, we hope you've enjoyed this discussion of one Sherlock Holmes story.
That frankly, it would take you less time to listen to the audiobooks available online than to hear us talk about it.
Yeah, but there's also commentary to be had and
Yeah.
interesting little factoids. So I think we're doing good. So join us next week for the Adventure of the Cardboard Box. If you miss us between now and then, we'll be returning to Middle Earth to finish the Shadow of Mordor DLC on this Twitch channel and the Ollie Johnson Plays YouTube channel. Just
And if you miss us between Sunday and Wednesday, we are taking part in Eclectic Hawks D&D campaign, the season 3, nor the Battle for the Strong, or
where I play a Minotaur pro wrestler.
yeah, nor the Battle to the Strong, not for the Strong. And I'm a fishing spear. I refuse to elaborate outside of the campaign.
You're just going to have to tune in and find out. And also, for next week, well, for this week and next week, I'll be playing Fist of the North Star Ken's Rage on Saturday with Murasaki's Pit in chat, and he has returned to streaming with me, so Mafia Monday, our Yakuza / Like a Dragon run, and Tombury Tuesday, our Final Fantasy run, are also back on.
Yes, yes.
So I'm doing a lot of streaming next week.
Yeah.
Ken's Rage is also the name of a Barbie game.
Well, it's also streaming at the beginning of next week. Because, because we are unavailable at the end of next week, so Assassin Sunday will not be on a week on Sunday.
Yeah, no, because we'll be in Nottingham for a convention.
Yes, we will actually physically be seeing each other.
Yeah, and it's been forever since that's happened. I haven't seen you since we went to see Dune, the first one. Yeah. That's how long ago that was.
Yes, let's see, how long ago was that, Dune?
Yeah.
That was 4 years ago.
So yeah, that'll be good. Seb's coming too.
Yes, yes. Better at your hotel and your travel.
Yeah. Yes, Seb, we'll see you there. And thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you next time. I need to come up with a better, well, I guess just, you know, as it's a book club thing, happy reading.
Yeah. Or the sound of a book closing quickly.